Left in this year's legislative session, and county commissioners are tasked with finding a replacement of a lawmaker accused of breaking ethics rules this weekend. Happening today, the commission is accepting applications. Yesterday, Democrat Phil Griego left his position after the allegations surfaced that he participated in some shady real estate deal. The 6 county commissioners now have to pick a nominee to replace him, send the name to the governor, who will be tasked with saying yes or no to their pick. The governor sent the commission a letter asking for their names by 5 yesterday so she could appoint someone today. But an open government group says state law requires county groups give at least 3 days notice before meeting to pick someone.
And certainly in this case where the counties are selecting a person to replace an elected official, it seems quite important that we get public input.
So adding a Republican could tip the balance of power for the GOP in the Senate on key issues. Bernalillo County is set to meet on Wednesday to make its pick. 2 primetime Republican-backed bills to change abortion laws in New Mexico have met an end in the Roundhouse. Senate Democrats have blocked a bill to ban late-term abortions after 20 weeks, plus another bill that would force girls under 18 to tell their parents if they are getting an abortion. The Democratic majority in the Senate Public Affairs Committee voted on party lines to defeat the bills 5 votes to 3. Senator Jacob Candelaria was one of the Dems to vote against both bills, calling abortion a decision for women to make. Representative Yvette Harrell, who wrote one of the bills, says it's a disappointment.
This bill simply put protections in place for a viable baby boy or baby girl who cannot speak for themselves.
And in consultation with their family and their doctor and their God. That's the best place where this decision can be made. And it's not in Santa Fe.
Now, that same Public Affairs Committee also killed the Republicans' right to work bill. It was a deadly officer-involved shooting that changed the city. A year ago today, homeless camper James Boyd was shot and killed by APD after hours of failed negotiations. Still, it continues to make waves both locally and nationally and is something that will have a lasting effect. News 13's Catherine Mazzone spoke with experts about that. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Lapel cam video shows officers Keith Sandy and Dominique Perez shooting and killing Boyd. Sociology experts say one of the biggest effects from it is people are now questioning what they believe about the police.
I think that the immediate incident itself of the James Boyd shooting did change people, because again, it's that tipping factor. So people may not have recognized all the incidents that came before, but they see this incident.
Paul Guerin is a senior research scientist with the Institute for Social Research. He says the Boyd shooting was significant in part because it was so widely seen. It sparked city protests. And from there, Guerin says people got more news about past incidents involving police violence. Plus, he says in some ways, subsequent officer-involved shootings are compared to the Boyd shooting. Guerin says while most people have a favorable view of the police, he says the shooting contributed to worsening relationships between the community and APD. But he says it's important we try to better understand the impact of the shooting because right now it's still unclear.
As far as I know, there's no survey of citizens in the city of Albuquerque in any time that I know of in the recent memory that would ask the citizens, what are your attitudes about the police? What are your beliefs? How do you feel about the police? Are you confident in the police?
Now, Guerin says getting a better understanding of how people feel and what they expect from the police would help to improve community relations with APD. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks so much, Catherine. We also asked him about what it will take to repair community relations with the police. That's coming up in our next half hour. A proposal to decriminalize marijuana possession in New Mexico is narrowly signed off by state senators, and it now heads to the House. The bill would make possession of up to 8 ounces of pot punishable only by a fine from between $50 to $300. Anything more than that could still earn someone jail time. It passed 21 to 20, but faces long odds in the House and likely will get a veto from Governor Martinez. And the Senate also passed a bill that adjusts the film tax credit to encourage production companies to use New Mexico facilities, buy and hire locally. The bill also allows TV pilots to earn a more generous tax credit when they film here. Albuquerque Republican Bill Payne is the bill's sponsor. The bill to keep New Mexico on daylight saving time all year round passed the Senate Judiciary Committee. It passed with a 4-2 vote. It now moves to the Senate. Roswell Republican Cliff Pirtle introduced the bill 2 years ago. It did not make it out of committee, though. Today, the mayor of Albuquerque could unveil a proposal that the city hopes will encourage local businesses to pay women as much as men. Mayor R.J. Berry says the proposal is still in the works, but it could make Albuquerque one of the few cities that push for equal pay. According to the Albuquerque Journal, the bill would give businesses incentives if they prove that they pay female employees at least within 10% of what men earn for the same jobs. The mayor says the proposal could be unveiled at today's city council meeting. A real estate heir accused of killing 2 people is expected in court this morning. 71-year-old Robert Durst is linked to 2 murders and to the 1982 disappearance of his wife. His arrest came before the Sunday premiere of the finale of a show on HBO about his life. Durst is apparently heard off camera saying that he killed them all. He's expected in court this morning to discuss his extradition to Los Angeles. And 3 British teens are accused of trying to join ISIS. Turkish authorities deported 2 17-year-old boys and a 19-year-old man as they tried to enter Syria. The teens, who are now facing terrorism charges, are out on bail. Officials say their return to London indicates improved cooperation in the battle against the terror group. A New Mexico woman gets a since police officers shot and killed homeless camper James Boyd after a multi-hour standoff. Well, sociology experts say it's difficult to fully understand the impact of this shooting. They say moving forward from it is not going to be easy. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is in the Newsplex with the details. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, experts say most people have a favorable view of the police, but they say the Boyd shooting led people to question what they believe or thought about the department. Senior research scientist Paul Guerin works with the Institute for Social Research. He says restoring police-community relations is going to be a long-term process. Guerin says here in Albuquerque, it will partially depend on the settlement agreement with the DOJ, and that could go on for years. Guerin says over that time, it's important for APD to change some of the ways it polices and to try to better understand how people want to be policed.
You have to dedicate time and resources to this, and people have to be involved. I think part of what has to happen too is that police have to change the way they do business in terms of contacts with citizens. It's important. And there's ways they can do that through training.
Now, Guerin says some of APD's efforts to communicate with the public are a step in the right direction. But he says these need to be long-term good faith efforts and engage a large portion as well as the right portion of the population. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Now, Guerin says as far as he knows, there have been no recent surveys to find out what people think about the police here in Albuquerque. This morning, Albuquerque police are looking for a woman they want to talk to about the death of another woman. Police say Cherish Hogan is a person of interest in the death of 31-year-old Cheyenne Cantrell's death. They say on Saturday, a family who went to Roller Skate City near I-40 in Wantabo saw the woman's body in a nearby parking lot, then called 911. Police have not said if there was any trauma to the woman's body, but they're calling her death suspicious. It's unclear why Hogan is a person of interest at this time. Police are asking anyone with information to call authorities. We checked just before news time, and the second suspect in the case, the so-called Catcall shooting, is still locked up. This morning, police are still looking for the third man involved. It happened a little more than a month ago at this Valero gas station on the corner of Unser and McMahon. Police say these 3 men, Nicholas Chavez, Tyler Wright, and Trevor Traylor, were hassling a woman outside. That's when a man stepped in, told the trio to stop. Surveillance video shows the 3 chasing that man around the parking lot. They later chased him in their car and shot at him twice. The Good Samaritan was not hurt. Chavez was picked up last week. This weekend, officers arrested Traylor. The 19-year-old faced a judge on Sunday.
At this point, I am going to continue the $75,000 cash or surety bond as set by me in the arrest warrant.
Now, police are still looking for Wright, the third suspect, this morning. Police are also investigating a stabbing that left a man dead and a woman seriously hurt. According to Farmington PD, around 11 Friday night, they found a 23-year-old woman stabbed multiple times near Main Street and Lake Street. She was taken to a hospital. She's still in critical condition at last word. Soon after that, they found a 27-year-old man who was fatally stabbed at the Nevada trailer court. Police say they are questioning a suspect but have not arrested anyone just yet. A lot of people will be calling their insurance companies this morning after a multi-car crash on I-40. It shut down 3 eastbound lanes at Rio Grande around 10 yesterday morning. Drivers were forced to squeeze through just one lane or a couple lanes there. Police say there were injuries but have not said how many people were hurt and if they were minor or major. People are back in their homes this morning after a bosque fire near Espanola caused evacuations. Take a look at this video here. Espanola firefighters say yesterday the blaze charred about 20 acres near the Walmart and Lowe's there before it was contained. 4 homes had to be evacuated for a short time. No one was hurt. That's the good news here. The fire's cause is still being determined this morning. A man saves the life of his girlfriend who lives across the country. Jihon Sao, who is going to Purdue University in Lafayette, Indiana, was Skyping with his fiance who lives in New York. Sao says suddenly she passed out. He did not know what else to do but to call 911. Indiana dispatchers had to use Google to get in touch with dispatchers in New York. It took half an hour for help to arrive for his girlfriend, but first responders were able to get in and save her. It's not clear what made her faint.
Oh, that car.
Take a look at this dramatic video this morning. It captures a scaffolding being ripped from a building after it was caused by high winds and rainy weather in Oregon. Parts of the scaffolding fell on cars, blocked off the road there. Luckily, no one was hurt. The storm caused mudslides and knocked down trees and power lines around Portland. Very scary. The president of a tiny island in the South Pacific is asking for international aid this morning after the area was devastated by a cyclone. Vanuatu was slammed by Cyclone Pam over the weekend. The country's president says at least 8 people were killed. Communication has been cut off to almost the entire country. He says about 90% of the buildings in the island's capital have been damaged. Aid workers say it's the worst cyclone the area has seen in living memory. That video is just absolutely devastating. New details this morning in the case of the man accused of shooting 2 officers in Ferguson. He says he did not intend or even target the officers. The officers were wounded last Thursday during a protest that was ignited by news that the police chief will be stepping down. The 2 officers shot were not Ferguson police officers and were helping monitor that protest. 20-year-old Jeffrey Williams, the man you see here, was arrested Saturday and charged in the shooting. Investigators say he told them he had gone to the protest that night and claims he was actually shooting at someone else when the officers were hit. The officers are recovering this morning after being treated and released from the hospital. An LAPD officer finds himself on the other side of the law this morning. He's being called a person of interest in a deadly shooting. 27-year-old officer Henry Solis has not been seen since a shooting that left 23-year-old Solomon Rodriguez Jr. dead. The 2 were apparently involved in a fist fight that ended in gunfire on Friday. Rodriguez later died at the hospital. The officer has not even shown up for work. It's not clear if he's facing any charges at this point or what that fight was about. Time now is 5:38.